makes
So,
sense.
by the way, I want to get your latest perspective. Vice president. Who do you want to see Trump to be his vice president?
Ben Carson.
You want Ben Carson to be?
Yes, I do.
Why Ben Carson?
I feel like sometimes MAGA gets a little bit too caught up with superstars like Carrie Lake and like the newer people like Vivek. I was always betting against Vivek. I knew he would never win the primaries, and I just knew he wouldn't be VP. And a lot of Trump supporters were actually very pissed at me because, believe it or not, I will take like the middle road too. I think that Ben Carson's a very safe option. I don't think he has any scandals. I do not like the women to be, every woman that is supposed to, or it's supposed to be like one of the candidates for VP. I personally know they have a lot of scandals that will be brought to light if they are chosen.
Like what?
I'm not gonna say.
Come on! There's only a million people watching
a lot
online
of
right now.
extramarital stuff. I mean, things of that nature. I'm not gonna just talk right now.
Okay.
But,
so you're going with Ben Carson.
I'm going to Ben Carson.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Toria, who would you like to see Trump pick as his VP?
I'm going to give the politician response, and I would like whoever he wants to have. And I think that I think a lot of the people
for freaking Congress out here?
I think a lot of the people that are being pushed are frauds, and I think that almost the more that they're pushed, the less I think they're going to be taken seriously.
Okay. So you have no horse in this race.
I don't have a horse in this race. I think Dan Scavino, the most dangerous man in politics, would make an amazing VP, but he's got other work he's got to work
Dan
on.
He's going to be on
So-
social. He's on social, Judy.
Is that DC Drano?
No,
that's Rogan O'Hanlon.
I can't keep up, but I've heard of Scavino. He's great.
Yeah.
I know you don't give a shit because you're not voting for Trump, but who do you think he's going to pick?
I have no freaking clue. Honestly, no idea. I mean, I've tried searching, obviously, like what seems most likely or whatever. I've seen people say a bunch of random stuff, like Tucker Carlson. I don't know, like how close to reality or out of reality that is.
Very out.
Very out. I've seen all sorts of things. I've seen people talk about Vivek. I've seen people talk about I forgot her name.
Nikki Haley?
Nikki Haley, yeah. Honestly, I'd have no clue.
Natalia.
Yes, I have no idea.
Who would you like to see him pick as his VP?
I'll give the same answer as Toria.
No. She works for Cash Patel.
Yeah, you can.
You work for Valuetainment.
Yeah.
You give an answer.
I'm not sure, honestly. I haven't really. I don't
Just say a name.
know. I don't know. We'll go with.
Put me in, coach.
I put
Come on, let
Humberto
me
in.
ask Fabian. Would you like to see him pick a man or a woman? How about
I would
that?
like to see him pick a man, I think.
A man.
Yeah?
I
What
agree.
Too.
I think
What
so.
an anti-DEI type of pick that is.
What is that supposed to mean?
Just saying.
Listen, if it has to be a woman VP to secure a win, then we have bigger issues.
No,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
The
like,
only woman that we can allow is Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I said that's the only woman that
That's
I
a woman? Okay, that's good.
I
to know.
say talent to
Yeah.
the front.
Who do you
so
say?
I don't.
Who do you say?
Boy, girl, I don't care. Talent to the front. Truthfully, I've been so focused on what's going on here in Florida.
Yeah.
I haven't been researching enough on them. I started, and I'm going down the list, so this is not a preference, but I've been looking up some of the stuff that Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard, yeah.
And
We're doing a live event with her. When are we doing a live event with Tulsi?
She's saying good
2
stuff.
weeks.
I don't know much about her.
Yeah. How about this? You're in Florida. You're in Miami. You're up in Tallahassee. How often?
Almost half the year.
Half the year?
Oh.
What about Ron DeSantis for VP?
It's unconstitutional. Unconstitutional. It can't be done.
Why not?
You can't have two from the same state.
Yeah.
Is Trump considered
Yep. He
Florida?
moved his residency
So,
to
so
Palm Beach.
all the talk about DeSantis potentially being a VP pick, he can't be?
No.
That's never going to happen.
Do you think DeSantis would be a good VP pick if he could?
I think he's a really hard worker.
Yeah?
I mean, what we've done in Florida, we've set the standard for this nation, and I really hope that people follow our lead. Truly.
Do you think that Ron DeSantis, do you think that relationship with Trump is mendable at this point? After all the rhetoric, all the bluster, all the talk, where do you see that going?
I mean, having been a little closer to it, I can tell you a lot of stuff is just hyped up.
Yeah.
The one thing about us in Florida is we work with everybody and anybody. It's about the work.
I'll tell you one thing about Florida. Born and raised here in Miami, like I have friends, dude, I'm from Miami. All the Cubans hate the communist, leftist, Marxists, right? Some of my best friends that I grew up with literally ran Hillary's campaign and Obama. Like, I have deep friends on both sides, never politically divisive. And then we start doing the podcast here, and I started meeting all my friends from California, all the PHP folks. Shout out to Ricky Aguilar, bro. You're probably watching this right now, Mexicano. He's like, yo, the California, bro. Like, he gets so worked up. I was like, what's going on here? I had no idea how divisive it was, especially in California. And even in New York, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, in Florida, it's just not as divisive. What is it like to work with, in Congress, the left, the right? Like, how dysfunctional or functional is it in Florida?
So I think people would be surprised to know that here in Florida, 97% of legislation is actually passed unanimously with both parties.
Wow.
So a lot of it's a show. Now, we do have a top-down system here, so whatever the left, especially if they tend to grandstand a bit on the far left issues, whatever they go back to their districts reporting, that all had to kind of go through leadership, so that was kind of allowed. But we welcome the partnership, right? We do try to include and work together on issues that are common sense based.
How red is Florida at this point? Because I remember in 2020, I went to school at Florida State. I was in Tallahassee. It was the Gore versus Bush election. I was actually an intern at the Capitol at that point, and everything just coalesced into Tallahassee. It was the biggest story in the world. Who's going to be the president? And it was like 50-50. It was the hanging chads. It could have gone either way. Right now, it would seem to be with DeSantis. Florida's no longer purple. It is officially red. How red is it?
This is an important conversation because Florida as a whole, yes, if you just do the numbers, it's bright red.
Yeah.
But my district is not. And my district is the capital of the economy right now.
Yeah.
And we are
Miami.
We are the most, my district in particular,
Yeah.
right? In Miami-Dade County, but I represent half of that and the wealthier part. And we are the capital of industry. We are the most diverse community. We are the most international everything. And I try to explain this to people back home. We can pay tax dollars in. If we're not properly represented in Tallahassee, we're not getting any of that money back. So we'll continue to paint the state as bright red as possible.
Yeah.
And then they'll just slowly price out us as a problem. And that I don't want to see happen. And I try to remind the right that I ran an election. I guess I won a historic election. I'm the first Republican elected in the history of Florida to represent my district.
Wow.
And I ran a very common sense centered campaign. So I try to bring that discussion up to Tallahassee, where there are people that, for no lack of interest, there's no malice, just a lack of understanding, or things get lost in translation. If you don't know what you're not taught, right? So if I can't bring the culture that we have there, it's a problem. So
Fabián, I'm sorry, not Fabián.
Yeah.
Pixie, did you vote for our friend Fabián?
I hadn't moved to Miami at that point.
Okay.
would you?
He's a Republican. Based on his answers so far, would you consider voting for a Republican like him?
I would.
Common sense.
I would. Well, I have to see the policy.
Do you want to know my
essentially.
platform?
Well, what is it? I mean, obviously,
So
I want to know.
I got
people's
into
platforms.
politics for a very specific reason, right? I'm raising a child in the world that doesn't make sense anymore. I'd like to see people bring people back together when they're in these elected positions. So I took very serious positions on guns, gays, and abortion. And it won me the election. So I try to represent this. If you're pro-life or pro-choice, understandably, you have every right to your individual choice. But you're talking about taxpayer dollars and government, so why don't we base this on data? And I got, I probably am the Republican who met with Planned Parenthood more than anyone, at least that's what they tell me. And they gave me data at 12 weeks with exceptions. So I said, okay, let's take the 12 weeks with exceptions and let's put that forward. Now, I couldn't get anyone on the other side to work with me on this. So I wanted to find a compromise. My personal choice was considered in this, but at the same time, I'm considering everyone I represent. I'll tell you about that battle later if there's time, because it's a long one. LGBTQ community, I live among them, I support them. I'm having a huge issue right now. They're not letting me in the Pride Parade, and I just proposed legislation to protect same-sex marriage.
Who's not letting you in the Pride Parade?
Miami
Pride
Beach and the
Parade.
Pride Parade.
Why?
Because supposedly my presence incites violence. So last year,
Because you're so freaking hot, the gays are gonna freak out.
so thanks.
I don't understand. What size violence?
Want to ride with me? So last
I'm
year,
not on that team, but
last year I meant in the parade.
No, I know.
So last year I worked a lot on the controversial Parents' Rights and Education bill, and
Was that the Don't Say Gay bill?
Yes, that's how it's been marketed. Right?
So you said it? Did you say gay?
Say in Florida you can say gay all day.
Yeah.
It is not an issue.
Yeah.
This is all geared towards classroom instruction. But we as a conservative party, we just figure everyone's going to kind of figure it out. No, we've got to invest. We suck at branding and messaging. We really needed to invest in getting that information, those facts into the hands of people who are being misled by supposed nonpartisan advocacy groups that are just inciting people against a party for pure political business reasons. So they basically said that I betrayed the community that I vowed to support. They had protesters for me and DeSantis, 50,000 protesters. There's video all over YouTube. And I showed up shocked. I mean, imagine my surprise. I'm up there fixing this, removing the prohibition of discussion from classroom instruction and just focusing specifically on the instruction itself. I get home, and I'd been in Tallahassee for these months, and I come home to my beautiful city. I live in Paradise. I'm always in this parade. I know everybody where I live. And I had people I've never recognized and I've never seen just holding up signs, just angry, I mean, it wasn't scary. It was painful to watch because I love people. I didn't realize how much I liked people until I got into this role, right? So, and there I am fighting for them behind the scenes while the front of the scenes is being mismarketed, and I get home without any time to represent my part. And I just want to be a part of this so I can have a conversation with people and explain to them the work.
I guess I'm kind of confused because I did read the Don't Say Gay bill. I've read like the legislation that was being proposed and passed, and it specifically said that like, oh, I think it's instruction around like 3rd grade or whatever. Essentially, you can't have mention of sexual orientation. So yeah, you literally cannot say gay because that's mention of sexual orientation.
No, it doesn't say that.
We can find the bill right now.
Let's do that.
Okay.
So what it does, now remember, there's the original bill, which is 1069, which you're talking about, and then there's the evolution of the bill when I got elected, which now goes to 8th grade. And in that bill, we removed that section because it wasn't clear. And let's put it this way. As adults, we're supposed to interpret legislation in the best interest of our communities, not to misrepresent it for political purpose. We're talking about kids here who are lost. You know, we're trying to give them an education, and it should be balanced, and they should be free to talk to their teachers in their community about anything and everything. You know, think about kids that are struggling about their identities on a playground, let alone within their own bodies. We don't even provide, before we get into a conversation whether you want to transition children or not, we don't even provide resources for them on campus. You know that we have counselors with like a certificate. We don't have masters of child psychology, early child development. We don't provide this. What are these advocacy groups doing if not working towards providing this? They get 6-figure salaries, federal, state, local money. You know, they campaign. They're supposed to be nonpartisan, and they take positions against everything that we do here in Florida.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. If you like that one, click right here to watch the full SOSCAST. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.